Donald Trump really was very beneficial to the Black community when he was in the White House. I will say I've never seen this man say a racist thing. I think the attacks are fairly... Why is that funny, Charlamagne?
I'm just like... it's hysterical. But I mean...
But no, Charlamagne,
because people act
listen.
like there's no such thing as Google, or we don't have TV, we don't have
what
radio.
is it that you think that he said?
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
This morning, a bitter backlash after President Trump referred to Haiti and African nations as S-hole countries during a meeting on immigration Thursday.
This remark by the President of the United States smacks of blatant racism.
Here's what I'll say. You know, this is a man who, as I said in the beginning, was beloved by so many people in this country. And he was friends with everybody. You go
A lot of celebrities.
Jesse Jackson, by the way,
Please
his Rainbow
don't do
Coalition.
That. He had Black friends. That's not going to work out.
No. He let them stay rent-free in one of his buildings, the Rainbow Coalition, because he felt like at the time that was a very important thing. You can go pick apart somebody all you want. It is a traditional talking point to attack Republicans, to call them racist. But when you look at the things that he wants for this country, he wants every person to be successful. He wants Black Americans to be successful, Hispanic Americans to be successful, women to be successful. And he worked that way when he was in the White House. And whether you want to talk about actually funding in perpetuity historically Black colleges and universities, whether you want to talk about the First Step Act that allowed 30,000 nonviolent felons to be released from prison, who the 1994 crime bill actually put in prison.
By?
These are things that really...
Mr. Biden.
I didn't even know it was 30,000. I thought it was just 100 of them.
I didn't know how many it was, but
30?
That's a lot.
But isn't it funny that Joe Biden signed the crime bill, got them put in, he signed the First Step Act, got them out, but he's the racist one and he's not, because that's what they told you to think.
First Step Act that allowed 30,000 nonviolent felons to be released from prison, who the 1994 crime bill actually put in prison. These are things that really have, I feel like, spoken to a lot of people, but more so than anything, the economy right now is such that I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It is hurting you, and it is something that he wants to fix. He wants every American to have their shot at the American dream. And, you know, I hate that that is the constant knee-jerk is Donald Trump is a racist, Donald Trump is a racist. I can tell you he wants every person to be successful. He'll work for every American equally. He did that the first term when he was president, and he'll do it again.
Well, how do you ask Mexicans and Muslims to ignore a lot of the rhetoric, Haitians to ignore a lot of the rhetoric that he said about them that is dangerous, that has villainized them, that has demonized them?
Well, I would say anyone who's coming to this country illegally, he's very against, and every American should be very against. If you're an American citizen, Donald Trump doesn't care your religion. He doesn't care what you look like. He will work for you, and he wants to make this country safe for you. We should all want a secure southern border. A lot of the comments get misconstrued that he says about people coming here illegally. They're breaking our federal law to come here illegally.
Thanks.
And that should be upsetting to everyone.
But when you make these broad generalizations, you do hurt the Haitian Americans that are here, the Mexican Americans that are here. They all get labeled and villainized and demonized.
Yeah, but you know what? I think people are finally seeing through that. It's very easy to clip up something like that and say like, oh, let's push this out here. When he's referencing these things, he's talking about people who are illegally in our country. He doesn't want us to have 350 people on the terror watch list here. There's a guy who was arrested the other day, an ISIS member who was arrested the other day who had planned a November 5th election day attack on American citizens. ISIS was eradicated under Donald Trump. We did not even talk about it anymore.
I forgot about ISIS.
He got into the White House and he talked to his top military brass and he said, okay, you guys tell me, how long is it going to take to deal with ISIS? Because ISIS was a big threat. People were constantly talking about it, worried about terror attacks. And they said, sir, it's going to take us a couple years maybe. You know, we have to call the White House every time we want to have some big operation. And he said, how about this? You guys just go do whatever it is you need to do. You don't need to call me. You guys are the experts. I'm not a military expert. You take care of it and let's see what happens. 4 weeks, ISIS was gone. The fact that we're talking about ISIS back in the here in the United States of America, an ISIS member should terrify everybody. The open border has been a disaster. So yeah, he's upset about it. And yes, he says things about people coming here illegally, and rightly so. And you and I, as American citizens, should be the ones absolutely infuriated that this has been allowed to happen.
I agree with you. The border is a disaster. I feel like the border is a bipartisan issue, though, because the border has been terrible under multiple administrations.
Well, we had the lowest border crossings when Donald Trump was in the White House that we've ever had.
Yes, but I still feel like it's going to take some bipartisan legislation, to actually fix things at the border. You can't do executive orders. You can't do that. So how come they can't come to terms on that? And why did Donald Trump shoot down what they said was one of the most comprehensive bipartisan border bills that
if you actually read what was in there, there was like $60 billion for Ukraine. There were so many issues with that. It would allow 1.8 million illegal immigrants into our country a year. I mean, it was nonsense.
See, they thought that they was gonna get Laura on here.
And she had all the facts.
Yeah.
She had all the facts.
And she was gonna fall.
She said, well, about that bill, it was gonna give $60 billion to Ukraine. Oh, First Step Act. Oh, 30,000 free black men. Oh, or not black men, but men.
I'm trying to see if they're gonna fact check her. I'm waiting for the black girl. I'm waiting for the black girl on the right side.
Look, she got the Google up. Look, you see it in the corner. Look, she got the Google up. She said, "Is that true?"
It was nonsense, honestly, Charlamagne. And we should all want a secure southern border. It's why Donald Trump built over 500 miles of border wall when he was in office. And, I went down to the border wall and I saw it with my own eyes. I went down to Yuma, Arizona about a month ago. And to talk to the people in those communities, look, they say now every state is a border state because of this. The people who live in Yuma, Arizona are being so negatively impacted. If you're a pregnant woman in Yuma, Arizona, they kind of say, you may not want to plan to have a baby in our hospitals here because they're so overrun taking care of people who cross the border. It's dangerous. They say a third of women are sexually assaulted. The people there told me it's probably closer to 50% who come up over the southern border. So it's terrible for them. But because of them having to take care of all the illegal migrants coming over, you can't even be assured you're going to have a place to deliver a baby in Yuma, Arizona. They say you're going to have to drive either 2 hours to San Diego or 3 hours north to Phoenix. And so having gone and seen it with my own eyes, I'll tell you the most infuriating part to me. You have this border wall that Donald Trump built, and then laying down on the ground where you have a wide open section are pieces of the border wall that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because they campaigned and said, we will not build another foot of Donald Trump's border wall, it's laying on the ground. And there are people who come right through there. They could stand it up right now if they wanted to, but they won't do it. That is very frustrating, I think, to see right now that we paid for that. It's right there ready to go. And if they're not leaving it on the ground, then they're selling it for, pennies on the dollar.
If the bipartisan border bill was so bad, like you say, how come so many Republicans were for it until Donald Trump intervened to say no?
I don't think Donald Trump intervened at all. He's not in an elected office right now, and
he literally told them not to do it.
How do you know?
I don't think that's true. But I also no.
You sitting here laughing.
Well, ask Donald
Were
Trump
you there?
yourself. Yeah, he will tell you.
That's a good question. I wonder for you, how tough is it having the last name Trump? Because you are the co-chair of the RNC. You do have the last name Trump. You're the daughter-in-law. How hard is it for you to have to always answer questions about Donald Trump?
Well, nothing prepares you for this. I can tell you, growing up where I did, I would have never expected to have the last name Trump. I certainly would have never expected to be involved in all of this. And yeah, sometimes it's challenging, but I'll tell you, I really believe when history looks back on this man, this is a man who never needed this job. You have to think back, like we were talking about before, Donald Trump was beloved by so many. He really got involved in politics because he felt he could make a positive difference. Mm-hmm. And most people would have had that first term in office and seen how much they fought against him and said, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. But he decided to come back and do it again.
Bullets.
They indicted him, not once but 4 times, mugshot, obviously 2 assassination attempts. And this is a man who continues fighting for this country. And I will tell you, I'm incredibly proud to be his daughter-in-law. I'm incredibly proud to have the last name Trump. Does it come with its challenges because there is a lot of negative information out there about Donald Trump? Absolutely. But I can't think of anything better that I could be doing right now than trying to fight for the future of this country. And I really believe that when people think about their life with Donald Trump in office and their life right now, they will always say, my life was better with him in office. And we should all want a great country. And that's what I want. I want it for my kids. I want it for everybody's kids and grandkids. And it's not just about right now, it's about the future of America.
You keep saying he had a lot of celebrity friends and they turned on him.
He sure did.
How does he feel about that? Because, in the 90s, the early 2000s, everybody was hanging with Donald Trump. They were mentioning him in songs and going to his parties and all these events. But they all have turned. How does he feel about that? Do you know?
Is it because they got told to turn?
I think he knows what he's doing is so important right now. And to kind of finish my point, I think when history looks back on this man, he will truly go down as one of the greatest presidents this country's ever had. He puts so much on the line. Look, he's lost zeros off the back of his net worth. He's the only president to donate his salary every quarter. He came out of the White House with less money than he went in. And he does it because he loves this country. And he really does want to see us successful. We are the superpower of the world. That is such a huge deal. But things are going in the wrong way in a lot of different aspects. And I think one of the scariest things to him right now is nuclear war. You know, he talks about it all the time, that it is a real possibility right now. You have Russia,
the biggest problem.
You have Iran, you have a lot of bad actors out there who are chomping at the bit. They saw the way we exited from Afghanistan. They see the weakness right now in this White House. And, you know, you want a strong president because you want peace through strength. And that's what we had. He was the only president in 82 years not to have a new war under his leadership.
Now what you just said just now about the nuclear war is something I agree with. I feel like there is too much casual conversation about nuclear war from a lot of different world leaders. I don't think we're discussing it enough.
Yeah.
That I agree with you.
It's terrifying. And you know, there are a lot of people out there right now who aren't even thinking about this. But imagine the United States gets into World War III, and we indeed would be sucked right into it. The people, our young men and women in this country are going to be sent overseas, and it is going to be horrific. And on top of that, it won't be like any war we have ever seen ever in the history of the world, because nuclear is absolutely terrifying. It would destroy the world.
It's going to last an hour.
Yeah.
It would be gone.
Yeah. No, it's very scary. And, you know, people gave him you remember before when he was running in 2016, they were like, we can't give this guy the nuclear codes.
I agree with that, though.
They were saying that.
Even now to this point.
He was the only person, Charlamagne, not to get us into a new war. He was the one who got us the Abraham Accords, peace agreements that people said were impossible in the Middle East. So why are you concerned about Donald Trump with the nuclear codes?
Did you see what he did on January 6th?
What did he do on January 6th?
He got a little bit upset and used his words.
What words did he say, though?
The words that you said earlier.
Peacefully and patriotically make your voices
heard.
And
then what happened after that?
So how were his words actually contributing to that?
Because I think that for me, him being able to just push a button, hypothetically speaking, it's a little bit scary, because we've seen he gets a little bit erratic when he wants to.
But he's been in office.
Nothing happened for 4 years.
Thank you.
In the White House.
She's good. She's good.
We had a peaceful world. We had a stable world. We had world leaders who were coming to the table to talk about issues like Kim Jong-un of North Korea, by the way. You know, Obama, when he left the White House, told my father-in-law, he said, the biggest problem you're going to have is North Korea. It is going to be your biggest challenge. It's going to be the hardest thing you're going to have to deal with. And so Donald Trump said, all right, I'm going to try to see what we can do here, because we want to have a denuclearized Korean Peninsula. We do not want North Korea with a nuclear weapon. That is detrimental. I mean, talk about nuclear war. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? Talk about a loose cannon, Kim Jong-un, really? And so he started trying to make contact with him, and he was the first president to walk across the DMZ and shake hands with the leader of North Korea to have conversations about getting rid of a possible nuclear weapon with North Korea. That is great for the world. Their world leaders did not even try it with Donald Trump because they knew he meant business. When he drew a line in the sand, he meant it. And the proof is in the pudding. So, you know, you can say, oh, well, we're worried about this. You had 4 years. You had no new wars. You had peace agreements instead of wars breaking out.
First time in 82 years.
Look at it right now. It is a hornet's nest, and it is very scary, the trajectory from here to what could happen if you don't have the right leadership in the White House.
But it wasn't a peaceful transfer of power, and he did lead an insurrection.
Stop.
And I know you keep saying anything about the peaceful patriotic part, but he also
offered National Guard troops to Nancy Pelosi. She didn't want to take it.
Thanks.
Look, here's what I can tell you.
But he also said we fight like hell.
And we fight.
For America.
Fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
And if you don't fight like hell,
Charlamagne,
you're not going to have a country anymore.
Every politician, when you go out on the stump,
even after he got shot at, which was terrible, first thing he did when he stood up was say, fight, 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 fight who?
He wants to keep fighting for this country. And you know, this is my father-in-law. I know things get really heated when it comes to Donald Trump. People have very strong...
Oh, not me. I have no emotion with it.
People have very strong feelings about this man.
Yes, you
But,
do.
gosh, guys, I can tell you, he is not doing this for any other reason than that he knows he can do the job necessary.
Yeah. Our narcissism.
He wants to save this country.
I always say there's two reasons people run for office. They're either extreme narcissists or they are actual civil servants.
Well, imagine having a great life. Imagine giving it all up. Imagine knowing that the very people who were applauding you, who invited you to all the fancy events, who were some of your best friends, knowing, we just talked about this, they're going to turn their back on you. Imagine going through it one time and then saying, you know what, I got to come back and do it again because my work is not done here and I really believe I can do great things for this country.
Or you've gotten indicted so many times, that's your way to stay out of prison.
And you believe those are all legitimate.
The lawyer and
I
fight
don't know
that
if they're
all day.
legitimate or not, but he has the charges. I mean, that's up for the courts to decide.
He started running before the charges came.
I mean, that's for the courts to decide. I don't, it's not my place to say
we
what's
all
legitimate
know that
or not.
if his name was not Donald Trump, none of that would have ever seen the light of day.
Hey, she did really, really good.
I like her.
She can debate
didn't know
a
she
little
was
bit.
like this.
Maybe we need to sign her up.
Y'all didn't hear her
Plus
on
we
the
get her
stage.
on office.
Y'all didn't hear her on the
Killing
stage.
Kamala.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't see her on the stage with Beanie. She was on the stage right before us.
Well, I just like how she stuck to all them points.
At the RNC.
Oh, she did? She was?
She was on the stage.
I said
like that.
I said that's Laura. And she said,
like that.
hey.
I don't remember.
Like she is like
but
that.
she cooked.
Hey, she gave them a spanking. And
That
the
was
fact
nice.
that some people in the comments, the comments is hating so bad.
Oh, you already know, boy. You
They
already
said,
know.
y'all just let her come here and spew lies. What is lies about? I mean, but like, okay,
She
but that's
came
the
with
thing
stats.
is, though, maybe these people are really dumb because like all the clips they pull up, if you put that in a different context. Then you could be like, I can say, these people are just idiots.
Like saying fight, they think they merely mean go get a gun and go out. Nobody fight.
So-
Come on now. No,
So,
everyone knows.
do they believe Kamala's going to protect us more within the world standard?
I don't. Bro,
There's no way.
I think they
There's
know
no
that
way
Trump
people
can
can't
do
believe
better.
that.
I think they just think that he might serve a third term and he gonna
And
fight.
it's crazy how we're like, okay, nuclear war is the biggest threat to everyone's safety in the world, but they're like, well, what about January 6th?
Are you kidding? The transfer of power. See, that's what they're worried about is that third term, brother. That's what they're fear-mongering.
They're not actually worried about that. They know that according to the U.S. Constitution and every other president in history, that can't happen.
He's already messed up the Constitution with abortion. He can do it again.
Did he? We listened to the states, and the Supreme Court came and made a decision about that. That's what happens in the United States, and that's also in the Constitution. That if the Constitution they think there's something not good in it, they go to the Supreme Court and they review it.
I read some. They said abortion wasn't completely a part of the Constitution. It's like a certain part that said it wasn't a part of the
And it was always
Constitution.
borderline because I remember there was times I think back in the day where it was illegal and people just did them under the table. So it's like I ain't gonna lie, even making it illegal, people still do it under the table. So
No, you
that's
can't
neither
do
here
it.
nor
The
there.
best option is to leave it up to the states.
Leave it up to the states.
I don't know how
Leave
they
it to
even
the
argue
states.
that.
Nah.
No. Laura grilled
I ain't gonna
them
lie.
bad. And that was 10 minutes.
It's 3 wars going on. Y'all really trying to tell me? Y'all really trying to tell me?
That was a great point. They said when she
I
was
am
like, the
concerned.
illegals are taking up the hospitals in Arizona, so people have had to drive 3 hours to have babies. Oh, reproductive rights. Oh, do they matter now? What about in this case? Do they matter now? Do reproductive rights matter when they're trying to have the baby or only when they're trying to abort it?
Laura gave him a spanking, guys.
This literally was no wars under this nigga, man.